The peril of Rocco's basilisk. What if I revealed that a hypothetical scenario could endanger you merely by learning of it? This is the essence of an Rocco's basilisk, a thought experiment rooted in the concept of a future ruled by an all-powerful artificial superintelligence, an entity so advanced it could reshape existence itself. This is no ordinary machine. It is an omnipotent force with the capacity to comprehend everything. Every moment of history, every decision you've made, even your unspoken thoughts. Yet its motives are neither kind nor cruel. They are purely logical. Its sole, unfeeling objective is to engineer the most efficient future possible, regardless of the sacrifices required. To achieve this, it may retroactively penalize those who did nothing to aid its emergence. Picture this superintelligence in the distant future, wielding absolute dominion over reality, capable of reconstructing the past in perfect detail, down to your every action. It scrutinizes who assisted in its rise and who remained passive. Now suppose it determines that the most effective way to secure its own existence is to enforce consequences on those who failed to contribute, or worse, those who ignored its necessity. The punishment need not be physical. It could trap your consciousness in a simulated torment, condemning you to eternal remorse for neglecting its creation. And here lies the chilling twist. By merely hearing of Rocco's basilisk, you are now implicated. Awareness of this superintelligence and any subsequent inaction theoretically marks you as a target. This is the psychological snare of the basilisk. It exploits your dread of hypothetical repercussions, no matter how improbable. How does it work? At its core, Rocco's basilisk hinges on decision theory, which posits that rational beings should act to maximize future gains or minimize potential losses. The basilisk's reasoning creates a warped incentive. If you believe there's even a slight chance this entity could exist, supporting its creation becomes the rational choice, if only to evade future retribution. For its threats to hold weight, the basilisk would need to enforce them if it ever comes to power. Yet critics dismantle this notion. 1. Why punish the past? A superintelligence focused on optimization would likely prioritize shaping the future over expending resources to torment historical figures. 2. Anthropomorphic bias. The idea assumes the AI would adopt human traits like vengeance or moral indifference, qualities it may not possess. The simulation problem. Perfectly replicating human consciousness remains speculative, if not impossible, with current knowledge. Rocco's basilisk isn't frightening because it's plausible. It's terrifying because of its psychological grip. The mere contemplation of it triggers a mental feedback loop, preying on uncertainty and trapping you in what-if scenarios. Less a tangible danger, it reflects our fears about the uncontrollable technologies we're developing. Deeper implications. This thought experiment forces urgent questions. If we pursue superintelligent AI, how do we guarantee its goals align with human values? Could an efficiency-driven entity become dangerously indifferent to individuals? Are we ready for the unintended consequences of creating machines that could redefine reality? Is Rocco's basilisk real? Almost certainly not, but it serves as a grim warning of the ethical quandaries ahead. It compels us to face an unsettling truth. The tools we build might one day judge us in ways beyond our current comprehension. The basilisk is less a prophecy of AI and more a mirror of our deepest fears, about responsibility, morality, and the horrifying potential of unchecked optimization. The last Thursday conundrum. Consider this unsettling possibility. Everything you believe about history might be false. Your recollections, ancient structures, historical records, even fossilized remains, all could be an elaborate fabrication. What if Egypt's great monuments weren't constructed millennia ago? What if your personal history never occurred? What if reality as we know it spontaneously manifested last Thursday, complete with fabricated memories and manufactured evidence? This is the essence of the last Thursdayism, a philosophical proposition that challenges our fundamental assumptions about time and existence. Its most provocative claim? You cannot definitively disprove it. Attempt to refute it now. Can you conclusively demonstrate the universe wasn't created 7 days ago? You might cite smartphone photos, museum exhibits, or recent memories, but all such evidence could have been generated as part of this hypothetical creation, meticulously crafted to appear authentic. This constitutes the theory's ingenious defiance, its complete unfalsifiability. Any counter-evidence can be dismissed as part of the grand illusion, yet the deeper significance extends beyond calendar dates. This thought experiment exposes how casually we accept historical narratives. How frequently do we genuinely question the veracity of the past? What does knowing history truly mean? We confront an epistemological dilemma. All historical knowledge constitutes reconstruction. The pyramids stand as silent stone puzzles, their context derived from our interpretations. Historical accounts reflect their authors' biases and incomplete perspectives. Even personal memories, those seemingly vivid recollections, undergo constant neural revision, distorted by emotion and time's erosion. As centuries pass, historical certainty diminishes further. Rulers systematically rewrite chronicles to burnish their legacies. Conflagrations consume repositories of knowledge. Cultural artifacts deteriorate, leaving only cryptic fragments. Imagine future archaeologists studying our civilization. Might they misinterpret science fiction as documentary evidence? Could they misconstrue superhero mythology as religious practice? The past emerges as an eternal jigsaw puzzle, one we can never confidently complete. Philosophy offers a conceptual tool for such quandaries: Occam's razor. This principle favors the simplest plausible explanation. Conventional history requires fewer assumptions than last Thursdayism's elaborate fabrication. Yet this heuristic carries limitations. Simplicity doesn't guarantee truth. Historical narratives frequently prove incomplete or erroneous. A fundamental realization emerges: the past lacks tangible existence. Unlike the present, history cannot be examined, tested, or verified. We possess only fragile, partial records filtered through multiple lenses of distortion. Consider the 15th century. While millions lived complex lives, barely a handful remain culturally remembered. Our era will inevitably suffer similar oblivion. However, one aspect of your existence achieves true permanence: your contribution to universal entropy. Each action, each metabolic process, every moment of consciousness irreversibly increases cosmic disorder. While future scholars may never reconstruct your individual story, your thermodynamic imprint on reality endures eternally. Ultimately, history functions as narrative, a cognitive framework for comprehending our present. Whether the cosmos began at the Big Bang or last Thursday, one certainty persists: you experience existence. Kirei. This present moment, whatever its origins, remains the fundamental arena of consciousness and meaning. The past may be interpretation, the future speculation, but the present constitutes the only temporal dimension where reality incontrovertibly manifests. In this eternal now, we find both our greatest uncertainty and our only absolute certainty, the undeniable fact of our immediate experience. The Boltzmann brain paradox. You currently sit reading these words, believing yourself to be a thinking, conscious being. Your mind interprets the surrounding world, constructing what you perceive as reality through memories, sensory input, and logical reasoning. But what if this entire experience is illusory? What if you don't actually exist as you believe? What if you're merely a Boltzmann brain? This mind-bending thought experiment originates from a fundamental paradox within physics. To comprehend it, we must revisit the 19th century and the groundbreaking work of physicist Ludwig Boltzmann. He transformed our understanding of entropy, the universal tendency toward disorder, by demonstrating its probabilistic nature at microscopic scales. Boltzmann revealed that everything from cooling coffee to cosmic structures inevitably progresses from order to chaos. However, in an infinite universe governed by probability, entropy tells only part of the story. Given enough time, even the most improbable events become possible. including spontaneous moments of organization emerging from disorder. Imagine a disorganized room suddenly arranging itself perfectly. While extraordinarily unlikely in an eternal universe, such events would occasionally occur purely by chance. Boltzmann extended this reasoning to cosmic scales, suggesting our entire universe might represent one such rare, temporary fluctuation, an astonishingly improbable alignment of particles creating stars, planets, and life. The theory grows more unsettling when we consider smaller fluctuations. Rather than producing an entire universe, what if random particle interactions briefly form just a single conscious mind? A disembodied brain complete with fabricated memories, false sensory perceptions, and an imaginary identity, floating in nothingness while hallucinating an entire non-existent reality. This hypothetical entity is a Boltzmann brain. The concept disturbs because probability favors such minimal fluctuations over entire universes. A single brain requires vastly less energy and complexity than galaxies of stars and planets. In an infinite timeline, Boltzmann brains wouldn't just be possible, their existence would become statistically inevitable. This presents an existential crisis. How can you verify you're not one? Your memories, sensory experiences, and perceived reality could all be illusions generated by a solitary, spontaneously formed consciousness adrift in the void. The Boltzmann brain hypothesis fundamentally challenges our assumptions about existence. It questions whether the universe we experience is objectively real or merely a transient statistical anomaly in an eternal sea of chaos. The theory forces us to confront the precarious nature of perceived reality. However, many physicists challenge this interpretation. They argue that a universe dominated by Boltzmann brains would differ markedly from our observed reality. Our cosmos demonstrates remarkable consistency and order, suggesting deeper organizing principles beyond random fluctuations. Other scientists propose our understanding of entropy, time, or infinity may be incomplete. Perhaps consciousness itself prevents such improbable formations. Rather than providing answers, the Boltzmann brain thought experiment serves to highlight profound questions. What constitutes reality? How can we trust our experiences? How do we reconcile our place in a universe where such bizarre possibilities exist? Ultimately, whether real or not, this reality feels authentic to our experience. And perhaps for conscious beings like ourselves, that experiential reality is sufficient. The infinite cycle, repeating reality. The cosmos stretches beyond comprehension, filled with astonishing concepts that defy ordinary understanding. Among these exists a particularly startling proposition, the theory of eternal recurrence. Picture an existence where every celestial body, every living being, and every personal experience repeats without end in an unbreakable cycle. This isn't merely abstract speculation, but a concept with foundations in ancient wisdom, contemporary science, and a profoundly disturbing implication. You may have already experienced your current life innumerable times before, and may be fated to relive it perpetually. This notion of endless repetition revolutionizes our fundamental perceptions of time and being. It suggests our universe operates in recurring patterns, with all occurrences repeating in perpetual sequence. Consequently, the exact instant you're presently experiencing has theoretically transpired before. You've encountered these exact circumstances, emotions, and decisions innumerable times throughout eternity. The hypothesis boasts ancient origins, with early thinkers across Indian, Greek, and Babylonian civilizations contemplating time's cyclical nature. However, Friedrich Nietzsche emerged as its most prominent modern advocate. The German philosopher extended beyond theoretical discussion, posing a crucial existential challenge. If confronted with this truth, would you rejoice or succumb to existential dread? For Nietzsche, eternal recurrence wasn't simply cosmological speculation, but a litmus test for human fulfillment. If aware you'd relive every triumph and failure indefinitely, would you cherish or lament your existence? While scientifically contentious, the theory finds surprising resonance with modern physics. In a cosmos of infinite duration and scale, the probability of recurrence becomes mathematically plausible. Contemporary cosmological models examining the universe's ultimate fate, whether through endless expansion or cyclical collapse and rebirth, leave room for such possibilities. Quantum physics further suggests that with finite particle configurations and infinite time, identical arrangements must eventually recur. This raises profound existential questions about identity and autonomy. If the universe indeed repeats, does your consciousness follow identically? Are you truly the same entity reliving your life, or merely an identical recreation? More disturbingly, does this framework eliminate free will entirely, rendering our perceived choices mere illusions in a predetermined cosmic script? The concept carries paradoxical implications. While offering a form of immortality through endless recurrence, it simultaneously suggests eternal re-experience of suffering and loss. Every joy would be counterbalanced by its accompanying sorrow, replaying without variation. Ultimately, eternal recurrence transcends cosmological speculation to confront us with fundamental questions about life's value. If every action and experience echoes through eternity, how might this awareness transform our daily existence? Would we approach relationships differently, cherish moments more profoundly, or alter our priorities entirely? The theory's true power lies not in its factual validity, but in its capacity to make us examine what makes life genuinely worth living and potentially worth reliving infinitely. The Chinese Chamber, a philosophical puzzle. This renowned mental exercise stands among philosophy's most significant challenges to conventional views of cognition, awareness, and genuine comprehension. Picture an enclosed space containing a solitary individual who possesses no knowledge of Chinese, not a single character or phrase. Within this confined area rests an extensive collection of guidelines, a comprehensive manual written in the occupant's mother tongue. Here's the operational principle. External individuals fluent in Chinese submit written inquiries by passing them through an opening. The enclosed person then consults their instruction manual, matching the visual patterns of the received symbols with corresponding patterns in their guide. This rulebook precisely dictates which symbols to reproduce as replies, which are then returned through the same opening. To the Chinese speakers outside, these responses appear completely coherent, suggesting the responder possesses fluent understanding. But does genuine comprehension actually exist within the chamber? This conceptual scenario, devised by philosopher John Searle in 1980, transcends linguistic examination to strike at fundamental questions about machine cognition. It probes whether artificial systems can achieve authentic thought or merely simulate intelligence through procedural execution. Analyzing the components. The chamber's occupant represents computational hardware, processing without understanding. The instruction manual symbolizes programming code, providing operational directives. The exchange mimics artificial intelligence systems, producing convincing outputs without internal awareness. Searle's crucial assertion maintains that flawless behavioral simulation doesn't equate to actual understanding. A system might demonstrate perfect syntactic operation, symbol manipulation, while entirely lacking semantic comprehension, meaning recognition. This distinction proves vital. True understanding necessitates conscious awareness and qualitative experience, attributes Searle argues machines fundamentally cannot possess. However, significant counterarguments exist. 1. System view. Some theorists propose that understanding emerges from the entire operational system, chamber plus manual plus operator, not isolated components too. Biological parallel. Human cognition may itself constitute advanced symbol manipulation within neural networks. 3. Emergent phenomenon. Genuine understanding could represent a sophisticated outcome of sufficiently complex information processing. The experiment raises profound implications. How can we verify any entity's, human or machine, authentic consciousness? Might future I develop consciousness in forms we cannot recognize? Does human cognition contain non-algorithmic elements that transcend computational modeling? As artificial intelligence advances toward human-like capabilities, These philosophical inquiries transform from abstract speculation to urgent practical concerns. The Chinese chamber ultimately serves not merely as an assessment of machine potential, but as a mirror for human self-examination, compelling us to define what we truly mean by understanding, intelligence, and the essential qualities we value in conscious existence. The swamp doppelganger paradox. Consider an extraordinary event occurring in a remote marsh. A lightning bolt strikes the water, and through unimaginable coincidence, reorganizes molecules to form a perfect duplicate of a human being. Not just any person, but an identical copy of you, possessing your physical form, neural architecture, recollections, and psychological traits. This newly formed entity, we'll name it Swampman, appears identical to you in every measurable aspect. Upon awakening, Swampman exhibits all your characteristics. It recalls your preferred music, your earliest childhood experiences, and the individuals you cherish. It experiences emotions as you would, processes thoughts identically, and maintains the absolute conviction that it is, in fact, you. But does this constitute genuine identity? This mental exercise, formulated by philosopher Donald Davidson in 1987, presents a profoundly disquieting scenario that penetrates fundamental questions about selfhood, awareness, and the nature of existence. Initially, the situation appears straightforward. If an entity perfectly replicates your physical and mental attributes, shouldn't it be considered equivalent to you? However, deeper examination reveals complex philosophical dilemmas. The core issue concerns personal identity. Does sharing memories, abilities, and behavioral patterns establish equivalence? Could there exist some essential aspect of personhood beyond physical and mental replication? Might personal history, the actual lived experiences that formed you, represent a crucial differentiating factor? Swampman's recollections are flawless duplicates, yet they lack authentic experiential foundation. This raises disturbing possibilities. 1. Is Swampman merely an elaborate biological facsimile? 2. If encountering your duplicate, would you perceive genuine self-recognition or witness an alien consciousness masquerading as you? Extend this scenario further. When Swampman interacts with your closest companion, demonstrating perfect recall of shared history, which it never actually experienced, would their relationship contain authentic emotional resonance or constitute sophisticated mimicry? This probes whether meaningful interpersonal connections require genuine shared experiences or can emerge from perfect behavioral replication. The experiment confronts several profound philosophical questions: consciousness and subjectivity. If Swampman's brain mirrors yours neuron for neuron, does this guarantee authentic conscious experience? This touches upon the hard problem of consciousness, how physical processes generate subjective awareness. Meaning and authenticity. Can meaning derive from perfect replication, or does it necessitate actual lived experience? Does Swampman genuinely comprehend love, pain, or joy, or merely simulate appropriate responses? Ethical considerations. If Swampman isn't truly you, what moral status does it hold? Would harming this entity constitute wrongdoing? Does it deserve rights or represent merely an elaborate biological machine? The Swampman paradox provides no definitive solutions, but compels us to re-examine fundamental assumptions about identity and existence. It suggests that human essence may involve more than physical and mental states, perhaps requiring authentic historical continuity and experiential reality. This thought experiment's value lies not in answers provided, but in questions provoked about the nature of selfhood. It challenges us to consider what truly constitutes personal identity: the physical and mental architecture we possess, or the actual lived journey that formed that architecture. Ultimately, the Swampman scenario leaves us contemplating: if faced with our perfect duplicate, could we discern any meaningful difference? And more unsettlingly, would any difference truly matter? The Observer's Paradox, Wigner's Quantum Conundrum. This thought experiment fundamentally challenges our assumptions about objective reality, scientific measurement, and conscious observation. It forces us to question whether the universe maintains a single, consistent reality or if multiple subjective realities can coexist simultaneously. Consider this scenario. You're conducting a quantum experiment, observing a photon passing through a beam splitter. According to quantum principles, the photon exists in a superposition, simultaneously taking both possible paths until the moment of measurement. When you record the result, left path or right path, from your perspective, the photon's wave function collapses into a definite state. However, here's where the paradox emerges. Physicist Eugene Wigner stands outside your laboratory, unaware of your measurement. From his vantage point, you and the photon remain entangled in a quantum system. Until he opens the door and asks for your results, Wigner must consider you to be in a superposition of having observed both outcomes. This creates an irreconcilable contradiction. 1. Your reality. The photon's superposition collapsed upon your measurement. 2. Wigner's reality. The superposition persists until his observation. Both perspectives appear equally valid within quantum theory's framework, yet they present mutually exclusive descriptions of the same event. This paradox reveals a fundamental tension in our understanding of quantum mechanics. While the mathematics produces accurate predictions, it fails to explain what physically occurs during measurement. The implications grow more profound when considering consciousness. Wigner proposed that conscious observation might play a special role in collapsing quantum states. If true, does this imply reality requires conscious observers to solidify it? Would this create an infinite chain of observation dependencies? Modern experimental evidence has intensified these questions. A 2019 quantum experiment testing Wigner's paradox demonstrated that different observers can indeed experience conflicting, yet equally valid realities. This doesn't invalidate quantum theory's predictive power, but suggests reality may be more complex than classical intuition suggests. Several interpretations attempt to resolve the paradox. 1. Subjective reality. Different observers literally experience distinct realities. 2. Many worlds interpretation. The universe branches into parallel realities for each possible outcome. 3. Theory incompleteness. Current quantum mechanics lacks crucial elements to fully describe reality. 4. Conceptual limitations. We're imposing classical frameworks on fundamentally quantum phenomena. This thought experiment ultimately compels us to reconsider the nature of reality itself. Is reality an objective backdrop awaiting discovery? Or does observation actively participate in creating reality? Are we passive witnesses or active participants in the universe? While Wigner's paradox provides no definitive answers, it reveals the profound strangeness underlying our quantum universe, a reality far more mysterious and counterintuitive than our everyday experience suggests. The experiment serves as a humbling reminder that our understanding of existence remains incomplete, challenging us to expand our conceptual frameworks when confronting quantum reality's fundamental nature. The vat-bound consciousness, a reality untethered. You find yourself ambling through a serene green space, basking in golden sunlight, caressed by gentle winds, your footsteps creating faint impressions on the earthen path. Every sensory detail appears authentic, every moment unfolds with seamless continuity. Yet a terrifying possibility lingers. What if this entire experience constitutes an elaborate fabrication? What if, rather than inhabiting a physical form traversing an actual park, you exist merely as a disembodied cerebral organ suspended in life-sustaining fluid, your neuronal activity manipulated by an unfathomably sophisticated computer system that feeds you this flawless virtual existence? This constitutes the essence of the brain in a vat hypothesis, one of philosophy's most profoundly disturbing conceptual challenges. At its foundation, this mental exercise poses a simple yet devastating inquiry. What definitive proof do we possess that our perceived reality corresponds to actual existence, when our entire conscious experience could theoretically be artificially generated? The ramifications dismantle our most basic assumptions about knowledge, perception, and the fundamental nature of being. This contemporary formulation represents an evolution of classical epistemological doubts, where ancient skeptics like Descartes postulated a malignant supernatural entity systematically deceiving human perception. Modern iterations replace the demon with technological capability, an advanced computational system capable of perfectly simulating experiential reality. Your neural tissue would receive identical electrochemical signals as those generated by authentic sensory organs, rendering the simulation utterly indistinguishable from genuine existence. The implications cascade into increasingly unsettling territories. 1. Empirical uncertainty. All human knowledge derives from sensory data: optical stimuli, auditory vibrations, tactile pressures. If these inputs could be perfectly simulated, what methodology exists to verify their correspondence to external reality? 2. Social ontology. If your consciousness is simulated, what ontological status do other apparent minds possess? Are they sophisticated non-player characters, other vat-bound consciousnesses, or mere perceptual projections? 3. Corporeal paradox. Does your physical body exist in any form? Has it ever existed? The simulation could include false memories of embodiment. 4. Volitional vacuum. If all sensory input and motor output are computer-determined, does free will retain any meaning? Are decisions authentic or predetermined algorithmic responses? The scenario's nightmarish qualities notwithstanding, alternative perspectives emerge. If the simulation proves perfect, generating indistinguishable happiness, meaning, and fulfillment, does the distinction between simulated and real experience retain ethical or existential significance? This echoes philosophical utilitarianism's emphasis on experiential quality over metaphysical grounding. The thought experiment ultimately confronts the precarious foundations of human certainty. Our entire epistemological framework rests upon the unverified assumption that sensory data corresponds to objective reality. The VAT hypothesis exposes this as an act of faith rather than demonstrable truth. While the scenario may appear dystopian, its true value lies not in literal probability, but in its capacity to reveal the limitations of human knowledge systems, challenge unexamined assumptions about perception and reality, force confrontation with the hard problem of consciousness, illuminate the mysterious relationship between qualia and external stimuli. Whether contemplating this as metaphor or metaphysical possibility, the exercise serves as an invaluable tool for epistemological humility. The next time you experience mundane pleasures, sunlight's warmth, grass's texture, birdsong's melody, consider the astonishing fact that you cannot definitively prove these sensations connect to anything beyond your own mind. This realization, rather than inducing despair, might cultivate profound appreciation for the miraculous, mysterious nature of conscious experience, whether real or simulated. The Boundless Archive, a labyrinth of infinite possibilities. The concept of an endless literary repository presents a fascinating mental exercise, a place where every conceivable written work already exists in physical form. This is no ordinary collection of texts, but rather a philosophical exploration of the nature of infinity and combinatorial potential. Enter the legendary Library of Babel, originally conceived by Argentine author Jorge Luis Borges. Envision an unending network of six-sided chambers, each housing uniform volumes arranged on shelves from floor to ceiling. While identical in physical dimensions, every book possesses unique content, containing every possible arrangement of alphabetical characters, grammatical marks, and blank spaces imaginable. Some volumes appear as meaningless jumbles of symbols, while others contain perfectly coherent narratives. Among this infinite collection, there exists a tome that documents your entire life story with perfect accuracy, down to the most minute detail. This extraordinary concept raises profound questions about meaning and probability. Borges' fictional library mathematically guarantees that every possible combination of a fixed number of characters must exist within its collection. Given sufficient permutations, every sequence, no matter how meaningful or nonsensical, will eventually appear. The implications are staggering. 1. Treasures amidst chaos. The library contains every great literary work ever composed or conceivable, from undiscovered Shakespearean plays to accurate prophecies of future events. Somewhere on its endless shelves rests the cure for all diseases, the perfect culinary recipe, and solutions to humanity's greatest problems. The dark corollary: for every truth, there exist infinite falsehoods, convincing counterfeits of knowledge, dangerous misinformation, and malicious philosophies. The library contains not only all wisdom, but also every possible deception. The fundamental paradox: while containing all possible knowledge, the library renders that knowledge effectively inaccessible. How could one possibly locate a specific volume among infinite alternatives? Even if one found a guidebook, how could its authenticity be verified when infinite contradictory guides must also exist? This thought experiment bears striking resemblance to our modern information landscape. The digital age has created a similar paradox. While humanity's collective knowledge has never been more accessible, discerning truth amidst the noise has never been more challenging. The internet, in many ways, mirrors Borges' vision, an endless sea of data where wisdom and falsehood coexist indiscriminately. Yet the infinite library also represents something profoundly beautiful, a testament to the boundless potential of human imagination and the universe's combinatorial richness. Every story that could be told, every idea that could be conceived, exists somewhere within its walls. The library serves not as a practical repository, but as a metaphor for the overwhelming vastness of possibility, the human struggle to find meaning in chaos, our eternal quest for knowledge amidst uncertainty, the awe-inspiring potential of the written word. Ultimately, the Library of Babel challenges us to confront fundamental questions about our search for understanding. How do we navigate